Aloha! This is Jason from Hawaii. Welcome to a special edition of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. In this episode, I will be interviewing artist Sue Lee. She will be talking about her work in the upcoming Stillwater The Escape one-shot. It is from Image Comics and it's going to come out on March 9th. And she has a backup story in Newb number 5 called Spookorama that is coming out on March 30th. Sue, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Thanks so much for having me on.
No, thank you very much for coming on. Now, Sue, before we start getting to the questions, I just want to go, just give our listeners a little bit about your history. And please feel free to correct me at any time. So now, correct me if I'm wrong, your first work was Dim Sum Warriors from Yumchan Studios in 2013. Is that correct?
Yeah, Yumcha Studios. It's one of my first gigs I had outside of school.
Uh-huh.
And it was really interesting because it's a children's comic and it's a bilingual book. It was Chinese and English. And so it was spun as like something fun and the kids could learn 2 languages at the same time.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Also, you've done work for Analog Sci-Fi Magazine and Sierra Magazine. Now, were these just cover art, or was this also in like one-page interior art, or what was that? Yeah.
Analog was a cover and a few interior illustrations. So they have illustrations to go with the stories. And so I did a few of those. And then Sierra was also a mini comic inside the magazine.
Oh, okay. All right. That's pretty cool. Also, you did a comic book series for Ahoy Comics, Ash and Thorn.
Yes.
Did you do it for the whole series, or was it like a certain issue?
I did it for the whole 4 issues. So it's a 4-issue story. They put it into trade, and yes, I was lucky enough to work on all of the art.
Okay, and then that came out last year, 2021, and like you said, it's already out in trade right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And then you also did I believe a short story in Red Sonja, Black, White, and Red number 3 from Dynamite Comics in last year, in 2021.
Yes.
Okay. And also, I know you're going to do a variant cover for What's the Furthest Place from Here. That issue is going to come out on March 16th, basically next month. Is that correct?
Yes.
And then I know you've also did variant covers for other comic books as well. Porcelain number 3 from Ablaze, and you did a Stillwater cover in 2021.
Yep.
And then you were the artist on the Charlie's Angels Bionic Woman crossover from Dynamite Comics in 2019.
Yes.
And then also you've done work for these other companies: Black Mass, Chapter House, Boom, Action Lab, Oni Press, Aftershock, and Valiant.
Yeah, I've done a bit of a lot. My fingers have been in a lot of pots, yes.
But that's great. Now, did I miss anything?
No, actually, I forgot to remind you, but I think Stillwater The Escape is going to be bumped to March 16th instead of the 9th, and that I totally forgot about that as well.
No, don't worry, that's fine. Thank you very much. And then I'm going to ask, is there did I miss anything, or when I went over your history, is there anything that you want to promote?
I mean, I think you have done such an amazing job finding all these titles, and I'm very impressed. One of my things that I was very proud of is I was a big fan. I'm not sure if you remember the anthology Flight from Image it was like early 2010s, I think. And it was like an Asian anthology, or Asian American / Asian anthology for a bunch of artists and writers. And it was called Flight. And I read it when I was in high school, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to be on that book. And I got to be in that book. Actually, when I was working with Yumcha Studios at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So the writer for Dim Sum Warriors also wrote a story for Flight. And I was like, yes, I definitely want to draw this. So I am very proud that I got to be in the last volume, I think.
Oh, that is so cool. I'm going to say no, I don't. Yeah, I don't
Don't
remember
worry. It's an entire lifetime ago.
that.
I was very young.
Oh no, but because unfortunately back in 2010 I was mostly into like the big two comics. I think whatever I don't even think I was buying too many Image comics at that time.
Yeah, I mean, that's understandable. Don't
Yes.
worry. Not a lot of people know what Flight is.
Okay. Now, before I begin the interview, now I want to give a big shout out um to and Sue, you know these guys. I want to give a big shout out to Gavin Smith. He's the artist on Star Trek: The Mirror War, and also Tony White. Now I want to thank them because they've because listeners, when I reached out to Sue to see if she would do an interview, Gavin and Tony, they vouched for me when I was setting up this interview. So, Gavin and Tony, thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed. Yes.
Yeah, Gavin is great. I mean, he's, very good friend of, the show and of myself, and we're in a big group together. And
Mhm.
Tony, love Tony. He's such a sweetheart.
Yeah. Okay. Now, where can listeners follow you on social media?
You can follow me on Twitter at Sue D. Lee. I I remember that none of my socials match up with each other because Twitter, I think, was the first thing I've ever had, and Sue Lee was taken, right? Of course, so I had to do Sue D. Lee. My Instagram is Sue Lee Draws. I do not have Facebook, and my website is SueLeeDraws.com.
Oh, okay. Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in New York all my life. I wasn't born in New York, but I was born in Chicago. I was moved right after being born right to New York, and I've lived here for over 30 years.
Oh, okay. And then, do you remember what was or were your first comic or comics that you read?
Oh, right. That's a lot, right?
Yeah,
Because it's like manga,
yes.
other Western comics. Um, when I was a kid, my parents used to read you know how there's comic strips in newspapers.
Yes.
um my parents would read the Korean newspaper and there was comics there, but
Oh,
these comics were a little like racy, so it was a little bit more sexy, a little bit more violent than like what American comics would
yes.
be. So I remember like peeking at those and being like, what's that? And then they're like, you can't look at this, you're too young. But so I have a vivid memory of that, but I was a big fan of like Dragon Ball comics, other manga, like Sailor Moon, stuff like that. And then Western comics was just like Batman and, like every mainstream, hero.
Hmm. So, and then now, correct me if I'm wrong. You are a big fan of BPRD. Now, you know, um, what did you like about that series?
I love how you found that out because I forgot I even said that. um but I'm a big fan of BPRD. I remember, well, everyone's a Hellboy fan, right? But when I was in high school, like all my friends were, I went to an art high school, so all my friends were just like, comic nerds, right?
Yeah.
So we would read comics and like swap comics with each other and just talk about it. I was a big fan of Hellboy. Like I love Hellboy.
Hmm.
But then BPRD was like, that spin-off universe of like monsters and fantasy and horror. And it was
Yes.
just like, I just love universes where the possibilities are endless, So I was like, oh man, I love BPRD. I wish I could like, I like that's like one of those, a fantasy that you have, like a bucket list thing, right? But I'm a big fan because I love horror. I love oddities. And I
Hmm.
thought the characters were so interesting and fun that you could see yourself in that world, right?
Hmm.
So I think I was immediately attracted to it.
Now I'm going off the cuff question. Have you ever Um, did you ever meet Mike Mignola?
I did. Magnola, yeah. I think that's how you pronounce his name, right? Oh, I apologize, Mike. I did actually very briefly at Boston Fan Expo before the pandemic. So I think it was 2020.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um, he had a table with a few other big name artists and creators, and I went out. I was like just browsing, and I was like, "Oh, hi, I'm a big fan." He's like, "Oh, thank you," and that was it. That
No,
was the only time.
no, but that's pretty cool. Um, and let's see. Um, now for the BPRD, do you have a favorite storyline from that series or that, you know, or that universe?
I have to go back at my stock and like look through it because it's been a while since I read.
Hmm.
Um, but I did. I don't really remember which because it all just blurs now because it has been a good minute before I've read them. But I remember. I think what is it? James Heron did a short story that I really loved.
Hmm.
He did a small BPRD story, if I'm not mistaken, but I remember being like very excited about that.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, this question comes from Drew. He's the co-host of the Comics for Fun and Profit podcast. What was your first comic shop?
Oh, that's interesting because like I used to go to a lot of like manga shops and they had like anime and
Yes.
other comic books and stuff. But that was like little miscellaneous stores in like Queens, New York, because that's where I grew up. So I don't remember the names of the stores, but like you go there, you look at like all the mangas that like
Hmm.
couldn't be translated yet, or just to like browse.
Hmm.
But I think the first like mainstream comic store I went to was Forbidden Planet in New York City.
Oh, yes. Hmm.
Yeah, that was like ever since I was a teenager. My friends and I used to go there after school to like browse and buy and just like hang out. That was like one of the like spots I went to consistently, and Jim Hanley's Universe. So those were the two comic book shops, and Forbidden Planet was my number one.
Oh, that's pretty cool. That is. Now, I'm going to ask, how did you get? Now, I know you said that you went to um, an an art high school.
Yes.
Wow. So okay, so like how did you get started in comics then?
Um, I like drawing.
Uh-huh.
I guess that was the first thing that I can remember is that I just really enjoy drawing. And when you go through, so in New York, when you go through like lists of high schools, right? I was like, what do I want to do? And I found out that there's an specialized art high school. So I had to like, I was interested because I was like, well, I want to draw, right? Like that just sounds interesting. And then when I found out that they had cartooning classes, I was like, yes, that's what I want to do. This looks like fun. So, and so I like took the test, because there's like a little drawing test, right, that you have to pass. It's very easy. I don't know how hard it was. I don't know how hard it is now. I'm sure they, amped it up, but back then it's like, oh, draw this dog, like, and then have like a little portfolio. It's like a
Uh-huh.
mini college, you have to have a little bit of a portfolio, do a little drawing test, and then I passed, so I got in, and immediately I was like, cartooning is going to be my major here. um and then so that's how I really started, because I loved reading comics but I knew nothing about how to draw them.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
I guess that was my first foray into it.
And then I'm just gonna ask, like, um, after high school, did you go to and like I said, I'm just asking, it's an off the cuff question because did you continue, like, did you go to art school, college? Did you go
I
to?
did.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. So
Yes,
yeah, so
I I attended School of Visual Arts.
mhm.
Yeah, and that's where I took cartooning with Klaus Janson. But a lot of my friends did it. Well, not a lot, but like a lot. Most of my friend group, who went to SVA took, Klaus or Mazzucchelli's class. And yeah, so I went to cartooning and SVA afterwards. So all my life I've just been drawing. I don't know anything else. But I've told the story a million times, but before I got into SVA, I actually couldn't get in because my GPA in high school was extremely low. So Tom Hart, he's like the best comics person in the world. He has his own school called, I think it's still around in Florida. It's the Sequential Art Workshop, but he used to teach in SVA, and I took his class too for Principles of Cartooning, I think. He's such a great guy. And he came to my high school to do like a presentation and stuff, and he was looking at people's portfolios, and he was like, "Hey, did you apply to SVA?" And I was like, "I did, but I couldn't get it because my grades suck." So he was like, "Okay, try to he helped me out with trying to make my portfolio better, and then do an interview and all that stuff." So Tom honestly changed my life, right? So I really appreciate him and everything he's done. But before that, I had to choose a school, right? You had I'm graduating, I gotta find something.
Yes.
I was very close to going to mortuary school instead. Yeah, I was like, if I can't draw, what's the next best thing? In art. I was like, let me go to there's a school called the College of Mortuary Science or something in New York. So I was like, I was gonna do that. I was gonna get all my shots. I had the pamphlets. I was really close to getting in. And then I got into SVA. So I was like, okay. But now I think about what my life could have been if I was a mortician or, in forensics pathology or something, what could haves, right? In another universe, I guess.
Yes. Well, at least you had a backup plan, right?
Oh yeah, I definitely did. And it's funny because even when I was in SVA, I was looking for part-time jobs. I applied to funeral homes too, just to because I was like, I don't have professional backing, but I could be a secretary or something. Yeah. So I was still very interested in being in that world.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I know it's different.
No, but Sue, I think the cool thing about this is that you knew what you wanted to do. You went to you found a high school that would help you in your future. And also too, you also had a backup plan too, because just in case the art thing doesn't work out,
Exactly. Although I'm really bad at math, so I would have been terrible in any kind of science, I think. So that would have been a big struggle for me.
So you're not the only one. I'm terrible in math too.
I gotta say, it's my one kryptonite. I'm extraordinarily bad at math, so good thing I can draw.
I'm sorry. I'm joking on this part. So if there's any future writers out there that's going to work with Sue, please put math equations in your story.
Do not have me do math. Yeah, please.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Okay. Now the thing is, I know you mentioned that we've already talked about that you already had Klaus Johnson as one of your teachers. You also mentioned another teacher's name a little while ago. Who was the other teacher that you had?
Oh, David Mazzucchelli. I never took David Mazzucchelli's class, but my friends did. Josh and Tyler. Yeah.
All right. Because the thing is, now correct me if I'm wrong, because when I was doing some research, he was one of the names that kind of, I guess, sort of influenced you. Is that correct? Because I know Frank Quietly, Mobius, and David Mazzucchelli. So I'm off the cuff.
I know. No, so I love David Mazzucchelli stuff. I loved Asterios Polyps when he created that, and I was in love with that book because it was so different from his Batman, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And so I was like, like I was like, he's so multi-talented and everything, and like his storytelling is just amazing. Like his Batman, the year one story, I say the Batman, but the year one Batman story is, I think, like I think a lot of people can attest that like that is a lot of our Bibles, right? Because it's like it's just near perfect. The
Mm-hmm.
storytelling, like Richmond Lewis's colors,
Yeah.
it's just like probably one of the more perfect, like I think, Western comics I've ever read in my life. And
Mm-hmm.
I always like reference that a lot because it's just I don't know, it's just close to perfect, and maybe like a point, but like um no, but I never met him. He did waltz into class once to ask to borrow something, I think. And that was the first time, I think, because we were so young, right? But we were like, classes like, this is David Mazzucchelli. And we were like, we were so like, oh my God. We were like, and I think a lot of my friends took his class like during senior year and
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So
Now, I'm gonna ask you. I know Frank Quiley. I'm gonna ask, did you ever meet him at a con or anything?
unfortunately not.
No.
He's like one of those like they say like never meet your heroes or like never put your heroes on a pedestal. So I'm like scared to meet him because like I see his art as like, I think it is he's one of the most brilliant like comic artists ever. And
Yes.
I like put him on a very high pedestal, so it's like I don't want to know anything about him other than how good he is at storytelling,
Yes.
because I don't want anything ruined. No, but I'm sure he's great, and I've read like some interviews and he seems very like, genuine about his work and his passion for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
No, I've never met him. But the person I did meet, again, very briefly, was Yoshitaka Amano.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
was doing a demo for Comic-Con. This was like years ago, right? So like 2015 or something like that, or some, I don't remember when, but it was like very long time ago. And he was doing a demo, and I distinctly remember his agent or someone saying, or the host of the demo, because he was like drawing on like one of those boards and it like projected onto the screen and
Yes.
everything. And I had one of his books with me just in case, because it was me and a friend, and we were like, we're gonna go see Yoshitaka Amano and we're gonna get this signed, right? So I had like this really like obscure like collection of prints in a book, and it's like in Japanese, so like you can't really get it
Mm-hmm.
here in bookstores. And so I had that with me, and distinctly remember the host was like, he is not going to stay after the show. He's not going to sign anything, so don't ask, and he's going to just leave. Nobody listened to it, and as soon as he was done, everyone crowded around him, and he was like, he is so sweet. He's so polite and so kind. He like quickly signed people's stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and I had my book like in front of him because I was like, I wasn't being pushy, but I was just like, well, just in case he could, right?
Yeah.
Then he stopped signing. He looked at me and we locked eyes for a few seconds. He looked at my book. He looked back up at me, and then he opened it and signed it real quick. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, thank you so much. I was like so happy that I was the last person like he signed for.
Mm-hmm.
And like he's so nice because he was so polite about it,
Mm-hmm.
and I feel super bad, but I have a signed book, so
Yes. Yeah.
that's priceless to me because I love Yoshitaka Amano. Like I used to be super influenced by his stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, I'm gonna ask because for me and for listeners that don't know him, like, what was some of his works that he did?
Well, famously he did the characters designs for Final Fantasy.
Okay.
Yeah, but he also did designs for older manga and anime as well. So
Mm-hmm.
he did like a lot of illustrations, and he's not just like an anime artist. He's like a real like illustrator, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he's very revered in Japan, and they take his work very seriously. And even here, like one of my dreams is to hunt down originals and buy them and
Mm-hmm.
frame them on my wall, but they're very rare to find,
Oh,
and
okay.
they're very expensive,
Oh, okay.
obviously. But he's just brilliant, he just like he's one of those artists that like he just like feels, with paint and like ink, and he just goes with the flow. Literally, he doesn't like sit there sketching everything out. He just like, just puts it on paper, and it's
Mm-hmm.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, I don't know, he thinks in a different, like, he definitely thinks in a different vibration or something, because
Yeah.
it's otherworldly, his art. It's incredibly beautiful.
Oh,
I have a print of his Vampire Hunter D on my wall in my studio, like right above me.
okay.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's like one of my favorite illustrations from him.
Oh, I'm just because, like I said, I'm not familiar with his work, but so did he do work on Vampire? Because I've heard of Vampire D. Did he do work on that?
The designs and stuff, yeah, he did illustrations and stuff like that.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I'm gonna continue on. Um, Now, you've already mentioned this. Your first, now correct me if I'm wrong. So your first paid professional job, of course, was the Dim Sum Warrior. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now, how exciting was it to see your name on that book or comic?
Oh my gosh, it was like so exciting, right? It was like the first time ever my name is like professionally on something.
Mm-hmm.
It felt great. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. Off the cuff question.
Sure.
Did you show it to your parents and go, look, you know?
Yeah, my family saw it. They had the copies. They were very excited for me. Yeah,
That is so cool. That is so cool.
thank you.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to move on. We're going to talk about Stillwater, the Escape. Now, before we start, may I ask, can you give a brief description of the Stillwaters series for some listeners who may not be familiar with the story? I'm kind of sort of familiar with it, but
Well, I don't want to give any spoilers away because I think it's a book you have to experience yourself.
mm-hmm,
Basically, it's a universe where nobody can die or nobody dies, right?
mm-hmm, yes,
So, and honestly, like the possibilities are quite endless for this universe, but it is about the a town where, see, I don't want to spoil it because like a lot of the main issues that like they find out that the town
there's something.
doesn't die, right? But it's like very intricate and has different stories about different lives in the town
Mm-hmm,
and
yes.
people's and the different characters as well. um so basically it's a horror drama, and it's incredibly beautiful, I think.
Mm-hmm, yes. Okay. Now, let's see. I'm like I said, are you caught up with the series? Because I just only bought the first volume trade like a couple weeks ago. But
Yeah, no, I'm not 100% caught up either. It sucks because when you're drawing or working or writing, it's I don't really have time to read a lot. Unfortunately, I know that's bad. I know it's bad, but because I'm like constantly working, I don't really have time to catch up to a lot of stuff. So there's a lot of books I need to catch up on.
no, but that's understandable. Now, um, I'm because on my end, it's just there's so many comics out there. It's
Oh, yeah.
I hear about Stillwater. It's like, okay, I'll read it 20 years from now when it's in a huge collection, something like that.
Sure.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask, how did you get this cool gig? You know, uh, you know, like, was it a phone call from Chip Zdarsky? Was it a call from somebody? And I'm not gonna ask you to spoil the story that you worked on for the one shot.
Yeah, no worries. Well, I worked for when I was doing Spookorama on Newburn. So that's also a Chip's project, right? That's his label. And so I knew the editor who's working with Chip on Newburn, and she reached out to me, and I was like, oh yeah, of course I'd love to do this. It sounds good, sounds exciting, and you know, and then I had like that was that for that, but then for Stillwater, the Escape, John Moisen, the editor for that title, also for Skybound, messaged me a while back to do the variant cover. So that was my first time on a Stillwater thing. And I thought that was it. Like nothing, I wasn't expecting anything else, but I did that, and I guess the reception was good. I didn't realize how at that time I didn't realize how popular Stillwater is, and I think that's like has like a cult following,
Mhm.
and I was like, oh wow, right? Like that sounds like yeah, thank you, and then a few months after. John also emailed me and was like, "Hey, do you want to do a short story for it?" And I was like, "Yeah, I would. Of course, I would. I'd love
Yeah.
to." And that was it. Yeah, I know. It's funny because I've never actually really talked to Chip, but when he wrote me a thank you letter for one of the for the Newburn book, and it was very kind. Chip is such a sweet person.
That's so cool. Now, also, now for the Stillwater, The Escape, you worked with writer, is it Andrew Wheeler on the short
Yes.
story? Ah,
Yes.
okay.
He wrote the story uh for our pages.
Hmm.
Yeah. And then Chip is writing for Ramon Perez's.
Okay. All right. And then now also because you already mentioned about Newburn. Now it's going to be, correct me if I'm wrong. So it's Newburn issue number 5, and the backup story is titled Spookorama. Correct?
Yes.
Okay. Now,
So from 5 on out, yes.
okay. All right. Now, um, let's see. Now, because yes, and Sue, I mentioned this to you in my email. I finally picked up at least the first three
Mhm.
issues. I read the first 2. It's a great series. But for our listeners, can you tell us, what the Newburn series is about?
Well, it's funny because Spookorama is not really an extension of Newburn, but
Oh,
it
okay.
is yeah, so it's I know it's about like a murder mystery, an
Hmm.
investigation. So but Spookorama is touches upon that as well.
Hmm.
It's about a girl trying to figure out the death of her friend and trying to like investigate herself while there's also an investigation in the background happening for it, and it's like a drama piece. So I think in that case that the two stories make sense with each other and then the theme of the book.
Hmm. Okay. And then, and then I, and then like, and then this backup story. I'm just gonna like, how many? Do you know how long that backup story is going to be and how many issues? Right?
Yes, I think it's 5 pages per issue on the backup story. And so I think it's, if I'm remembering correctly, it's 20 pages.
Okay.
Yes. So it's like one issue split up into these
Oh,
following issues. Yeah.
okay, I see what it is. Now I'm just asking, and and if you can't tell me, that's fine. But that backup story that you're working on, and the writer is Casey Gilly. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it's
I'm
either Gilly or Jilly. I'm not sure. Yeah, I was acquainted with her recently because of this book.
oh, okay. Now I'm just asking, any hints of maybe this might spin out into its own mini series, or like any word? I'm just asking.
Not sure, honestly. And also I apologize to Casey. I didn't mean to gender them. I so she them just in case. I
Oh, yes.
apologize if anything. But no, I don't know yet. It's a insulated story,
Hmm.
so we could if we wanted to, and also if I don't know yet. We have to see the because it's like a whole separate thing.
Yes.
Um and so hopefully we'll see what happens with it, but if not, it could just be like a really nice one shot. It's a black and white story because as I was working on it, I wanted to like as I was working, I was like, I kind of like that, Newburn is colored and it's dark, and
Yes.
then you have this backup story that's just black and white, has like a little bit of ambiance, and I
Yes.
I thought that would go well with the vibe of the book. And so Chip was also down for that, and also Alice and the editor was down for it. So I was like, awesome, yeah. you know.
Oh, that's going to be pretty cool because I'm really looking forward to that backup story
Oh
because
yeah.
when I read the first issue of Newburn, I mean, it was, it's great in color and everything, but if they did it in black and white, it's like, oh my God, that would have been great.
Yeah, because Jacob does a good job with the
Yeah.
inks, right? And so
Mhm.
I was like, I kind of wanted to, yeah. So I'm glad you noticed it. Like, I kind of wanted to like follow that, but it's also set in the 80s. So I kind of wanted to think of it like a flashback of the era. So like, for me, I was like, if it was a black and white, it's a little vintage like, I guess, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
I wanted to be moody, right? And then it would kind of separate the book as well.
Yes,
Um, so I thought it would be interesting and they liked it. So I'm glad that they went with it.
that's pretty cool. Okay. Now Drew again, he submitted a question. Now for the one shot story in Stillwater and for the backup story in Newburn, did you work with full scripts?
Yeah. I mean, you mean in terms of did Andrew send a script
Yes.
for the pages? Yes, I
Okay.
did. Yep.
And then for Casey, did
Same
Casey?
thing. Yep.
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Um, now I'm joking on this part because you know where this is gonna go afterwards. So you
You're
know,
fine.
do your artist friends bug you with questions about what's gonna happen next in Stillwater or Newburn?
Oh
Or,
no, no. We talk. A lot of us like we were like, oh, what are you up to and stuff like that. But no, we don't. We don't really like bug each other about stuff like that. Yeah, they're all very good.
now I'm joking on this part. None of them go. I think this is how Stillwater's gonna end. Remember that Twilight Zone story?
Oh no, no. I think it's because we're like, we work on the projects. We know, like, you know what I mean. It's like, we probably won't have the answers anyways, right? But also, like, once you've worked, once you've like worked in this process, it kind of those kind of questions like just go out of your head,
Oh
right?
yeah,
I mean, we do that for TV and movies and stuff,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But like, this is like, isn't it? It's funny. It's different. You see it in a different light once you're working inside, right, the
Yes,
industry versus like being outside of it.
that's true. Yeah.
No, they're all very good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say because this is the perfect segue to go to now I'm going to correct me for a moment. So is it? I know you're on Twitch TV
Oh
and
gosh, yes. Oh gosh,
and you're
my stupid show.
no, it's not. So but now and it's called um Sue Lee Draws. Is that correct? Is that the name?
So that's just so when I first created my Twitch, I didn't think I would be doing this. I thought I was just gonna be one of those artists who Twitch, who like stream my art
Yeah.
every once in a blue moon.
Yes.
And so Sully Dress is just like my professional like title or whatever. I don't even know what to call it, right? Like Sully is taken, right? So I had to add something else. So it was just like a generic name that I just slapped on it. I was like, oh, I'm just gonna solo stream art, and I did that for a little bit, right?
Yes.
But it's hard to keep a consistent schedule when you're working, and plus I can't show most of my work anyways. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't have downtime to work on my own stuff. Plus I don't have, so it was like I couldn't like keep up with it. Although I want to go back to doing that.
Mhm.
So the unofficial title for the stream, the art, the drink and draw, I guess, right, is it used to be Sue and the Boys, but
Yes.
now because other people have joined, I said Sue and the Crew. It's the unofficial name is Sue and the Crew. And it's funny because we try to think of a name and I
Mhm.
hated that my name was in it. I just wanted to be like Drink and Draw or like, the Stupid Friday Show or something like that. But we could not for the life of us agree on a name. And so I was like, I don't care. It's just a show. We're not naming it anything. And then at some point, I think Gavin was like, I have an Instagram for it. Let's just call it Sue and the Crew. And I was like, okay, fine. So thank you, Gavin. Right. So it's just like, I can't change it because I do solo stuff on it as well. But our weekly or I guess our monthly shows are Sue and the Crew, and it's just Sully Draws.
Okay.
I know it's complicated, but it was just I went through a whole like metamorphosis.
Now you've already touched on that. Um, I'm gonna back up a little bit. So, like, how did you come up with this? I mean, I know you said you're just gonna do like your own, just do your drawing thing, but how did it evolve?
So we met in New York Comic Con 2019. I joined the Modern Mythology, the art group, in 2019. Is that when the pandemic, and was that right before the pandemic?
Actually, yes, it was.
Right. I think that was the last Comic Con we did together until 2021, I think. But, so I freshly joined, and Josh Raybuck, our commission rep, set us up all together in one row. That was nice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, you know what? Like, let me introduce myself to everyone. And I figured, hey, if we have this thing, maybe we can be like other people and have like a group of like artists to hang out with and like show art and like critique it and just to keep up with like the world and and everything, and it'd be nice to like hang out with friends, right? Because we couldn't, right, like visually see each other because of the pandemic. And I was like, but before that I was like, it'd be cool if we got like a little art group thing going, right? I set up like a group chat thingy, and so we've done that for a very long time now. And when the pandemic hit and conventions were like a no-go and we couldn't go out at all, I was like, hey, I've been seeing that people are like, Twitch is becoming really hot right now, especially because of the pandemic. I was like, maybe we should do something.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we were like, yeah, sure, why not? It was like a weekly thing.
Yes.
And it was nice because like a lot of us like didn't really have much. Like I didn't really have much because of the pandemic, a lot of work was stopping and I just had free time. And, so I was like, I can host it and everything. And it was like fun. And then I think everyone like enjoyed like being able to hang out, and like the fans get to watch, gets to know us better because, we're not being able to go out and like, do things. So it'd be nice if people got to know us better. So I was like, hey, this might be fun. And, and that's how it ended up. So I guess because of the pandemic.
And then, who is in the group?
Okay, so it's a lot. Myself, Gavin Smith, Tom Riley, Josh Hickson, Craig Cermak, Tyler Boss, Ricardo Lopez, Ortiz, Dave Stokes just started joining. We have Sweeney Boo and Rossi Gifford and Adam Gorham.
Oh, cool. Adam.
So everyone rotates in, we're all friends, but like not everyone can join, but that's like the main characters.
Okay. Yeah, because Adam Gorham, because I interviewed him last year for the
nice.
The Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. And I know his book is coming out sometime next month. Yeah.
Yes.
Nice guy. Yeah.
Oh, he's a sweetheart.
Yeah. Twitch streaming show, is it like on a monthly schedule? Is it every 2 weeks? When does it come out?
So during the pandemic, it was every Friday because we had nowhere to go, right? Yeah. And then as soon as the pandemic started easing up, we switched to Thursdays. Because people go out on the weekends, and so it's Thursdays now. And because work is gearing up for a lot of us, or I mean all of us really, we're doing bi-monthly. So it's 2 Thursdays every month.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
And then just for our listeners, like basically, besides, critiquing artwork and stuff, I know you already mentioned you guys talk about movies and TV shows, but like what TV
Yes.
shows, what movies do you guys talk about? What, like, science fiction, crime drama? What do you guys,
Oh gosh, On the Stream is a mess. It's such a stupid show. Honestly, like it's not popular at all and it's very small but it's intimate, it's
yeah.
fun. Like we have the same viewers and it's like a nice hangout day with them.
Uh-huh.
And we literally just talk about anything,
Mm-hmm.
but we like nerd out and we have a topic, right? So we talk about a lot of the topic that's for the week.
Mm-hmm.
But we like talk about video games. We did a whole nerd out session for the new Lord of the Rings of Power that's coming out,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elden Ring that just had that's going to happen in a few days. And
Mm-hmm.
so like it's everything, honestly. But
Mm-hmm.
we do love talking about movies and TVs. Like
Mm-hmm.
we're like, we love watching it and then like also like watching it together and just talking about it and stuff. So literally anything. It's a mess. Again, we don't have like hundreds of viewers. We have like, very, very, very tiny, modest amount, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like low key and it's nice.
No, but like you said, but the cool thing is that it's just you and your friends hanging out talking story.
Yeah. And the
That's
chat is very sweet, the fans who've been sticking with us for a few years now, they're very nice and, they're like, they buy our stuff and they're very supportive. And so it's nice, right? So like we're talking and it's like they're in on the joke, right? So it's very nice.
That's pretty cool. Now, that's a perfect segue about, when, the viewers buy, some of the artwork and stuff. Now, if listeners are interested in getting a commission from you, how can they go about, putting requests in and so forth?
Well, you can email me at sulidraws.com
Uh-huh.
or at gmail.com. I'm sorry. Or you can hit up Josh Raybug at modernmythologycomicart.com. And
Mhm.
so there's like all our rates are there and everything, and
Mhm.
original pieces that go up on the site as well. So either or, you can totally just hit up Josh. It's totally fine. Also, I just wanted to say for all you sports lovers, like there's some of them are very big sports fans, and I know nothing about sports, but they can really go off about sports, and like a lot of us just zone out. So if you're interested in that.
um, this is an off-the-cuff question. Um, um, who is your favorite character that you love to draw? You know, on your free time
um I've gotten a lot of frequent like commissions and requests of like the rotation of the art, the characters, or it's almost like the same 5 characters.
Mhm.
Um, but on a bucket list, I guess if I could put it out into the universe, I'd love to draw Catwoman. And I've drawn
Oh.
Catwoman a bunch of times too for commissions, but
Mhm.
I would love to, try that out.
Okay. All right. So I'm slowly wrapping this up. So now you already mentioned Catwoman. Um, Actually, let me ask you this first off the cuff question before I go
Sure.
to my next. So, if DC Comics, as soon as this interview ends, your phone rings, and it's Jim Lee.
Oh boy.
He's gonna go, "Hey, Sue, you want to draw like, a 10-page short story Catwoman for our summer spectacular 100-page thing?" Your
I
answer
would
would be,
say maybe no, it would be yes. There would be no doubt. Actually, it's funny because Jim Lee also streams on Twitch as well, and so I've watched his streams for a while. And I was streaming one day, and I think he saw that like I was streaming, and I think he does follow me on Twitch, but like I've never really like this was like the one time I've ever talked to him, but I guess my also like you know fangirling moment was that like I was streaming on Twitch. I was literally just drawing my own thing
Mm-hmm.
and he raided my chat. And so like he was there and you know he was talking on the chat and I was like responding and all of his fans were super sweet. But that was the only time I've had like a interaction with Jim Lee. So thank you, Jim. He's also very kind. So but yes, if Jim was on my Twitch and was like, you want to draw Catwoman, I'd say yes.
Right. So my question, I'm going back to my question. So what series or characters would you love to work on?
So many. Catwoman, BPRD still, I guess. You know, actually, I've said this a bunch of times, but I know DC doesn't have it anymore. But remember the Elseworld series that they used to do?
Yes.
I was a big fan. I've collected almost all the Elseworlds trades. Yeah, I would go to like $5 bins and like comic shops and stuff just to look for the old obscure ones.
Yes.
And I love it. I just love universes that you can do anything with. Does that make sense?
No,
I mean, I guess that's like goes for any of the characters, but it's like it truly is like you can literally do whatever you want, kind of, right? And so I like that. If I was like, oh man, that's my goal to draw an Elseworld series to like what can I do with this like established character that no one else has done, or you know, or maybe do a better spin on or something, right?
Yes.
I mean, I'm not better, but you know, if I could have a spin at it. But I used to love Elseworlds, and I still do, but they don't make that anymore. But that used to be my dream thing. Catwoman, BPRD. I mean, Hellboy is great, right? So stuff like that.
Okay, so one question again after the interview. If the phone rings from DC Comics, you know, going, hey, we're going to restart Elseworld. You know, we want you to be the first artist, you know, first artist to work on this, whatever, you know, whatever Elseworld book they're going to throw at you. You know, do you have a portfolio already with sample pages inside?
Hopefully my projects, all the projects I've done is like, you know what I mean, a good enough like portfolio for them, right? But if they wanted me to draw a character, I would be more than willing to say yes.
I know you said Hellboy is one of your favorite characters. I'm just asking, did you ever toy around with like sample page, like, you know, like, well, if I had Hellboy do, you know, like you had your own little short story. Did you ever?
Oh no, because it's a, you know, I think because I'm working like it's not easy to do that a lot of the times. I mean, fan art, that's why the Twitch stream is fun, because we pick a topic and we get to draw our versions of that. So that's like our way of, or at least my way of like getting to do that. So it's like I have to force myself to draw something that I want if I have free time. And then the topics will be the way I get to do it. But other than that, no, unfortunately, I have not.
That explains why, because I was checking through the past shows, and one of them was DC Kingdom Come, and I couldn't.
Yes.
You know, because I know somebody drew the Alan Scott Green Lantern in the.
I think that was that's Dave. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my God, that armor looked.
Dave is a force to be reckoned with, and he's too modest to agree with me, but he is a beast.
That really looked. That his armor looked like the old English armor. You know those real knights. That was like, oh my God, that looked. Nothing. I'm not putting Alex Ross's design down, but oh my God, but that looks.
I'll tell Dave you said that.
I kept thinking that looks so much better. You know.
I'll tell him you said that. Thank you.
Amazing.
Yeah,
And
so we choose these topics and then we decide to take a spin, like our spin at it. Also, our styles are extremely different.
mhm,
So it's a nice opportunity for us to kind of like flex a little bit, right?
mhm. And then also, and someone was drawing the Red Robin from Kingdom Come.
Craig,
That
yeah,
was
Craig.
nice.
Craig is all I gotta say, all my friends are extremely talented, you know, like I'm extremely envious about how good they are.
Mhm,
And even when I'm like, and it's for me because I'm hosting, I
mhm.
have to read the chat, I have to pay attention, I have to
Yeah.
spotlight artwork. So I can't do as intricate of a piece. So
Mhm,
I just do something simple.
mhm.
But I genuinely love that I can showcase my friends' stuff
Yeah.
because
It's nice.
I like and I don't mean to be cheesy, but like I am like a cheerleader for them, even if they might not see it like that. I don't know if they do. I'm just saying, like, I try to be a big cheerleader for my friends because they're incredibly talented and like I love all of their works and I think they deserve all the best things. And
Yeah.
so even if it's like not for me, if they can sell something or if other people can, if their fandom can grow
Yeah.
just a little bit from the stream, I'm
Mhm.
more than happy to do that. Like that genuinely makes me very happy because they're all so very good.
I'm sorry because I'm going to go back to that Red Robin because when I saw that,
Yes, yes.
I was going, "Oh my god!" Because and I can't remember who did the Red Robin artwork, but I was going, it's so it was kind of like it's unfortunate that DC when they did Future State or whatever future their
The
future stuff,
revamps, sure.
nobody they never they never circle back around to Kingdom Come and do a Red Robin story because that would be because the costume design is incredible.
Yeah, it is. It is. Craig did a really good job on it. And that's why we do those topics, right? Because
Mhm.
it's like, oh, if we could, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah. Sorry, I'm going to try to wrap up, but I want to ask one off
No, no worries.
question. Um, did you guys ever do a Hellboys? Did you guys do a
We should.
yeah?
Actually, I think we might have
Mhm,
because I did a redraw of a Hellboy issue of a cover with
mhm,
just inks. Um, but now I'm not sure if that was just like a redraw of something or if that was Hellboy.
mhm.
But you know what? Maybe we should we should do that because I technically drew a Hellboy and it was just like me trying to mimic Mike Mignola's style
Mhm,
just to
yes.
just to like I think it was for inks or something. But
Mhm.
thank you. I should we should do that.
Okay. Let's see. I'm slowly wrapping this up. So, what
No,
is
that's
the
fine.
most?
This is fun.
Oh, thank you very much. So, what is the most fun or cool thing you love working in comics?
Huh. I mean, that's a lot of answers, right?
Okay. If you wanted, we have time. I'm going to say, if you have time, go for it.
um working in comics, like you can just nerd out. You're just, I mean, it's drawing, right? Like if you don't draw, I guess you won't understand, but it's like any profession. It's like, who gets to say they draw for a living, right? I mean, work can be awful, work can be tough, at any profession, but I get to draw.
Hmm.
My one skill set is drawing and making it look good enough, um then if they ask me to draw something like a cool fandom, that's even better because it's like, I have not had a chance to work on anything uh like big mainstream name,
Hmm.
but that's okay, like because I still love that I get to extrapolate on a universe that's already there. So even if it's a cover, it's like drawing fan art, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah.
like drawing professional fan art. I get to have my spin on an existing thing.
Hmm.
And so it's like writing fanfic, I get to do my own thing with it. And that's always the fun part. It's like, oh, I get to do my own thing for it. If that makes sense, like that
Yeah.
feeling is really fun.
Hmm.
And then like, you know, no, I don't know if anyone else is gonna admit it, but like it's a little bit egotistical, this work, right? Like you draw good things, people say it looks good, right? They compliment you on it. That always is nice.
Yes.
Um, but I do like, I love going to conventions too,
Mm-hmm.
because I love meeting fans. I genuinely do. Like I love meeting people who buy my stuff, who support me, talking with them. And like I really do, like when I'm at a convention, I'm like, okay, it's my one time I get to
Yeah.
like really show up. It's
Mm-hmm.
like business me is like ready to go and
Yeah.
stuff. But meeting my other peers, right, and like
Mm-hmm.
talking shop,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it's really fun because it's a very interesting industry. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like tech or business, right? Like I'm not working at like a like an office or whatever. So you meet like all walks of life,
Mm-hmm.
weird people, fun people,
Yes.
and it's like I'm sure that's for any profession, but comics is very interesting because it's like you ever like have that feeling when con season starts up? It's like this excitement, right? It's like the one weekend out of like an X amount that you get to like wave your nerd flag, right? Like
Yes.
all these weirdos in one place, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, these are my people,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes.
And no one judges you. And
Mm-hmm.
like sometimes even like people in industries that you wouldn't even expect like would come to comic conventions because
That's
they're like,
correct.
I'm a
Yes.
secret nerd, right?
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? So it's like,
Yeah.
I love that. So New York Comic Con is like my favorite show because
Mm-hmm.
I've been in New York all my life. So
Yeah.
it's like my hometown show. But like, I love when you're walking towards a convention
Mm-hmm.
and you see all these cosplayers and all
Yes.
these nerds, like you could spot them, right?
Yeah.
They're very like specific, or they're like very excited and everyone's walking really fast. And you're like,
Yes.
I love that. I know it sounds silly, but like I just love that energy. I just love seeing like all these nerds in one place, getting to like do what they love and
Mm-hmm.
not be judged for it and
Yeah.
be weird, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you go back to work and be normal.
Yeah. No. Yes. I mean, I understand. I have to say the funny thing is because here in Hawaii, on Oahu, we have, I think so far, only two comic book conventions. The Amazing Comic Con and Comic Con Honolulu. It's funny because I remember one time my wife says, yeah, when I go to the comic book convention, I think she told my mother-in-law this. She goes, yeah, I don't see Jason for 3 days.
Well, yeah, exactly, and like the industry people, I mean, not everyone drinks, but it's like a place where like nerds get to be cool.
Yes,
you know you
yes.
do the nerdy thing, then you go out and you drink and you party and you have fun, and then not everyone drinks. I'm saying like that's not the funnest part, but it's nice. I get to have everything. I get to enjoy all walks of like the experience.
Yes, and the thing is, I understand where you said it's like, the comic could, because one of the comic book conventions that we had here, Amazing Comic Con, a few years ago, had William Shatner and some of the cast from the Next Generation,
Oh, cool.
and
Yeah.
I mean, it was just the whole, just the whole spectrum of fans, from some 4-year-old kid, or even babies where couples just dress them up to either be Star
Sure.
Trek or Iron Man or something, and then you see the older adults. I can say this because I am old, you know, you know because I remember seeing, and like I said, it was really cool to see this. I saw a lady and she looked probably like in her early 60s, but she had the classic Star Trek Nurse Chapel uniform from the original
Nice.
series. And I'm
Yeah.
like, that is so cool to see.
Yeah, I love it, right? And
You know,
like, she's probably proud of it in real life, but like you don't really talk about that.
yes, yeah.
So I do love that, yeah. I also like that I think it was Amazing Con, like my friends and I like talk about like, oh, we wish we could go to that.
um, okay, so I know you said, going to conventions, you have fun, it's great meeting fans, your peers. Was there either one or two favorite convention moments that you remember? Well, I think
Oh
one of them you
boy.
already mentioned about. You mentioned about meeting.
There's
Uh,
Takamano, right?
yeah.
Yeah, that has to be one of my favorite moments. Um, and then I think just meeting like I don't know. It's hard to say, right? Because um professional outings also is like very meaningful to me because oh, I'm a part of this thing, right? And I'm being recognized for it. Those are always like the good milestones in my mind, right? Like emotionally, I'm like, oh yeah, I've gone so far in my career. And like I know that's really vague, but it's like there's no other. It's like every show I go to, I try to achieve like a milestone in my career, and like
Yeah.
it gets recognized. And I would think that's when I'm like, oh yes, this is good. This is a great year.
No, yes, I no, I get it. Yeah. Okay. Um, Next convention or store signing appearance.
So the next convention I'll be at Wicked Comic Con in Boston, and
Okay.
that's in April 9th. It's a one-day show, and I think it's in Fenway Park. So I will be doing that. That'll be my first show back,
Mhm,
and everything else is up in the air
mhm,
because not every show has like started up their applications yet. And I still have to be picky about where I'm going because
mhm,
I am still wary about traveling,
mhm.
so
Yes.
yeah. So for now, to be determined, but Boston, April 9th at Wicked Comic Con.
All right. I'm slowly wrapping things up. Um, excuse me. Have you and your family been to Hawaii?
No, my father has a long time ago when he was younger.
Mhm.
And I have not. It's all, of course, it's a place I've always wanted to visit, but I actually want to go back with my family because of my father. So thinking maybe, like, hopefully it'll happen, but
Mhm.
I've always wanted to go.
Okay. All right. Um, any closing words to our listeners?
Uh, I guess I just want to say thank you, and I appreciate everyone who supports me. And if I didn't have the fans and the support I have, honestly, like you're kind of not able to, like proceed forward, right? And I am very, very grateful, and I am very, very lucky. And also thank you to all my friends, of course, that they're very supportive. And I'm very happy to be in an industry that's very strange.
All right. All right. Sue, mahalo. Thank you in Hawaiian. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to interview you. And I wish you all the success with Stillwater, The Escape, and, with Newburn, the backup story to Newburn.
Thank
Oh,
you so much. I really appreciate you having me on. This was a lot of fun, and I haven't done a podcast in a while, so I was hoping I didn't say anything stupid.
no, no, because it's just for us to have fun. That's all it is.
Yeah, no, this is a lot of fun. Thank you.
So now, if you are a new comic book reader or a lifelong comic book fan, please check out Sue's work in the pages of Stillwater, The Escape, that's coming out on March 16th. And the backup story is starting in Newburn #5 called Spookorama. That's going to come out on March 30th. And, for listeners, if you guys get a chance, tune into her Twitch streaming show, you know, when it was called Sue Lee and the Crew, or Sue Lee
Well,
Draws.
It's Sully draws that Twitch.tv, right? Something like that. It's just Sully draws, but yes, it's soon the crew.
All right. Um, I want to thank Drew, the Codes for Comics for Fun and Profit, for putting this episode together. Drew, thank you very much for all your hard work behind the scenes. And if you are a new listener, please check out new episodes of Comics for Fun and Profit that comes out every Saturday. And finally, I want to thank you, the listeners. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for listening to this episode. Until next time, guys, aloha.
Aloha.